I can't believe this after 4 years. Peter is getting married to another woman, Miriam said to herself. Miriam looked at the invitation letter that popped up in her notification. It was her fiancé getting married to another lady. Her hands froze and her heart skipped a bit. It felt like a dream, but it wasn't. It was reality. Miriam sat properly to read well what she saw. Peter weds perpetual. Miriam's hands were shaking and her heart was beating like a gong. I can't believe this. After 4 years, Peter is getting married to another woman, Miriam said to herself. She dialed Peter's number in a haste with her hands shaking. She called the number and didn't realize she had made a mistake. She looked well and then called Peter's number. She only wished it was all a prank. Her heart felt like it was tearing up into two. The call went through, but Peter didn't pick up the call. Miriam couldn't control what she was feeling. Her heart felt like it was going to shut down. Tears were already beginning to cloud her eyes. But Miriam tried to keep it all in. She left the house in a haste, forgetting to even put on a wig. She wore one of her flip-flops and left her house for Peter's. Something must really be wrong somewhere. This can't be true. Miriam kept convincing herself inside the cab as the taxi driver drove towards Peter's house. When Miriam got to Peter's house, she squeezed the door handle and walked in. She saw Peter sitting relaxed on his cushioned chair with a young lady lying down on his laps. Who is this, and how dare she walk into our house without knocking? The young girl asked, raising her head from Peter's laps. Miriam brought out her phone and showed the picture of the invitation letter to Peter, ignoring the young lady speaking to her. What is this, Peter? I need an explanation. Miriam demanded, so much curiosity in her eyes. Oh, you've seen the invite. That's me and my baby here. We are getting married in 2 weeks, Peter said, smiling. Miriam stood in front of Peter. She lost her voice instantly, and only tears streamed down her cheeks. What pained her the most was that Peter didn't even try to deny the fact that he was getting married to another woman in 2 weeks. The young lady, who is probably perpetual, drew closer to Peter and planted a soft kiss on his lips in the presence of Miriam. Miriam felt like the land should open up and swallow her up seeing Peter being kissed another lady. But she wasn't ready to give up so easily. Peter, what is going on? What about all our plans? What about all the promises? You said. What did he say? Tell me, what did he say? Can't you see that we are getting married soon? The lady asked and stood up to face Miriam. Peter. Miriam called, trying to hear from him. But Peter said nothing. He just watched the drama play out in front of him. Miriam couldn't explain what she was feeling. Telling Peter how she felt would mean nothing. He didn't even show any atom of remorse. Tears clouded Miriam's eyes like the skies harboring a heavy downpour. She tried to hold it back, then ran out of Peter's house feeling deeply hurt. Miriam stopped a cab and left for her house. The tears kept dripping out, but she would wipe it off with a handkerchief. When Miriam got home, she sat on the floor inside her room and sobbed bitterly. It all seemed like a bad dream, and she wished to wake up. Miriam could literally feel her heart bleed. It's been a whole 4 years and all just wasted. Miriam remembered when she met Peter. He was still struggling and finding his feet. Peter had nothing at all. Miriam fell in love with him the way he was. She decided to build with him. Peter was a graduate, but he couldn't find a job anywhere. He searched and searched, but it seemed like no company had any vacancy. Peter was already getting frustrated, but Miriam always came through for him. Miriam was a type of girl who demanded nothing from him. She would cook and even bring for him to eat out of love. One day, Miriam told Peter that she didn't like the way he was looking for a white-collar job. She suggested he start from somewhere, even if it is working in building sites, so he could at least have something in his pocket to pay his bills. Peter accepted Miriam's suggestion. The next day, instead of going for job hunting, Peter left in search of a building site. The first place he entered, there was no space, but they squeezed him in. He made a few friends, and he started getting opportunities to work in some other sites. Peter was happy that he went home with money daily, unlike before when he couldn't even afford 3 square meal. On Peter's way back from work, he bought a gift for Miriam, thanking her for giving him the push to start something. When Peter offered Miriam the gift, she was thankful. She told Peter that she had been thinking. Peter wondered what it was. Miriam told Peter it was better for him to start saving. She told Peter that he could use the savings to start up a business. Again, Peter bought the idea. He told Miriam he was so lucky to have her in his life. Peter began to think of a business he was going to invest in while still working at building sites and saving up some money. Finally, the idea clicked. Peter told Miriam about the business idea. The money he had wasn't enough to start the business. Miriam told Peter that she was going to support the business, and Peter thanked her happily. The next day, Miriam brought her savings to Peter to add up and open the business. Peter thanked Miriam and promised never to disappoint her. He took the money and started a small-scale business. In the early days of the business, Peter struggled. But Miriam was always there for the rescue. She would cook and bring for him occasionally, so he doesn't spend money from the new business. Miriam added her savings to the business to make sure it moves forward. When Catherine, her friend, told her to stop sacrificing everything for Peter, she told Catherine that she was an enemy of progress. She even warned Catherine not to interfere in her relationship if she doesn't want their friendship to end. Catherine never spoke to Miriam about her relationship with Peter again. Days rolled by, turning into weeks, then months. The little business, which was struggling, started growing. The business started doing well, and Peter was already starting to live comfortably. One day Peter was in his shop when a customer walked in to patronize him. After buying from Peter, during their discussion, the man discovered that Peter was graduate. He asked Peter if he would love to work in a company. Peter said he would gladly do so because he loved white-collar jobs. The man gave his contact to Peter and asked him to call him on the phone that evening. Peter got home that evening and discussed it with Miriam. Miriam didn't buy the idea because the business was already growing. She wanted them to be independent, but Peter's mind was made up. He went ahead and sold his shop with everything inside it without telling Miriam. When Miriam found out about it, she got angry. But Peter spoke to her and gave him some reasons why he wanted the work in the company. Miriam wasn't so convinced, but she just had to see reasons with Peter. Peter started working in the company, and things were going just well. After a year's time, he got promoted in the company. Peter was now living comfortably with a car which he bought, but whenever Miriam asked for money, he has an excuse not to give. Miriam didn't take it to heart because she loves him and believes everything he says. Recently, Peter started talking about settling down, and Miriam was so happy. Finally, all the years she suffered with Peter was going to pay off, and she would say yes to the love of her life soon. But then Peter had to stab her in the heart by getting married to someone else after all those years she sacrificed for him, her time, body, sweat, and money. "I can't let Peter get away with this," Miriam said to herself and continued crying. Someone knocked on the door to Catherine's house. She wiped her tears and went to get the door. But her friend noticed that Miriam was crying, even though Miriam tried to hide her tears. Catherine asked Miriam what happened and why she was crying. Miriam showed Catherine the invitation letter. Catherine began to laugh at Miriam. "I told you, Mimi. I warned you not to throw everything in for this boy, but you wouldn't hear. Men, you even threatened to end our friendship because of Peter. Peter betrayed Jesus in the Bible. First, he sold the business you helped him open without him telling you. You should have read in between the lines," Catherine said. "I love him so much and I never saw the handwriting on the wall. But I'll make sure Peter regrets his action. I will make sure the wedding doesn't hold," Miriam said in tears. Catherine told Miriam that destroying the wedding wasn't the best thing to do. If she goes ahead and destroys the wedding or even kill Peter, she was going to end up behind bars for the rest of her life in regrets. She asked her to instead hope for a better future for herself. Miriam couldn't hold back her tears. It was hurting her deeply. She couldn't believe that she was a victim. All night, Miriam waited to see if Peter was going to text her and at least explain what he had done, but no text came. He ended their 4-year relationship without any reason. Miriam deleted Peter's number and blocked him on all her social media accounts. She would cry every night trying to heal from the pain and shock. If not for Catherine, she would have done something she would have regretted. She wanted to end her life on a particular day after she couldn't take the pains, but Catherine intervened on time. On the day of the wedding, Miriam sat back at home. Even though she had planned on moving on with her life, it wasn't easy for her. She sat down on her bed, crying her eyes out. After all her sacrifices for Peter, after all she did so Peter's situation could change for the better, he left her for a lady who did nothing for him. Catherine called Miriam on the phone myriad times, but she didn't pick up her calls. She decided to go see her friend. When she got there, Miriam's door was open and she walked in. She saw Miriam on the bed sobbing bitterly. Mucus was rolling down her nostrils and her eyes were swollen. Catherine consoled her friend with some words of encouragement. It was difficult, but Miriam finally stopped crying. Someone called Catherine. She told Miriam that she needed to go somewhere. She told Miriam to take care of herself. Then she left. Miriam made up her mind to channel all the pains into building herself. She decided to shut her heart to anything called love. If Peter could stab her from behind, then other men will do more. Miriam decided to learn a digital skill. She had a friend who had advised her to come learn from him, but she wasn't interested. She used all those pains from the hard break as a fuel to work harder. She turned down all the men trying to access her for a relationship. She needed no distractions. She relocated and moved far away from where she was staying. 2 years have gone by already and Miriam was already so good at what she does. She was already making lots of money. The guy who had taught her was so good at what he does. He had so many connections which helped Miriam grow so fast in her skills. Miriam was in a shopping mall buying things for herself when she saw a lady who looked familiar. She tried to recall where she had seen the face from. Then it clicked. That was the girl she had seen with Peter. She was really looking good. Well, maybe life wasn't Nollywood and Peter was living fine with his wife. Miriam didn't bother to check if she was with Peter. She just continued with her shopping. When she was done, she left the mall. Miriam built herself to the point that money was no longer a problem. She received deals from high-profile people, which she executed with so much ease. Miriam was invited by a company for a deal. When she stepped into the company, she saw something which came as a shock to her. Peter was seated in the waiting seat inside the company when she was led directly into the manager's office. Miriam pretended not to see Peter. She didn't want to remember the past which she had already kept behind her. That wasn't the company Peter worked in, so she was surprised to see him sitting there. He wasn't looking as good and shining as he was when they were together. When Miriam passed, Peter couldn't believe his eyes. Miriam was looking so beautiful and her skin was glowing. He wondered about the sudden transformation. Peter decided he was going to try and speak to Miriam when she comes out. She loved him so much, and he was sure she was going to speak with him. After he got married to Perpetual, everything changed. Perpetual was so materialistic that she made sure he spent every dime that entered into his account. He stayed with Perpetual for a whole year, and she never got pregnant. He became worried and began to wonder what was going on. He thought the problem was from him. Whenever he talks about it or asks Perpetual to follow him to the hospital, she always tells him that God's time was the best and the hospitals wouldn't help them. One day, Peter came back from work earlier than usual. He was given 2 days off. He forgot and left for work that morning. When he got there, he remembered and had to go back home. He stayed in the office for a while before going back home. When he got home, his wife Perpetual wasn't at home. Perpetual said she wanted to be a housewife. She said she didn't want to work because she was so beautiful to do so. When Peter got back home, he saw what shocked him. His wife Perpetual has been using preventive measures, making sure she doesn't get pregnant. Peter was astonished and he wondered why Perpetual would do such. He was angry and waited impatiently for his wife to get back home. When she finally came back home, Peter asked her why she was taking pills to prevent herself from getting pregnant. Perpetual didn't even speak to Peter. She tried to walk away from Peter, and he drew her back and slapped her. Perpetual didn't react. She took her phone and made a call. Peter kept talking and talking, but Perpetual didn't say a word. Some minutes after the call, a man walked into the house with some thugs. the beat-up Peter leaving him begging for his life. The man took Peter's phone and saw a huge amount of money in his bank account. He asked Peter to transfer all the money to him. Peter told him that it was his company's money. He threatened to kill Peter, who surrendered the money to him immediately. When the alert entered, the man left the house with Perpetual. He warned Peter never to report to the police or risk losing his life. Peter didn't know what to do. He called Perpetual's family and told them, but they had no solution for him. He sold most of his properties, including his car, just to be able to raise the company's money back. He paid some amount of money back to the company, and they sacked him. Ever since then, he has been looking for a job. He had come to try again when he saw Miriam, his old love. It took a few minutes, and Miriam walked out of the manager's office. She pretended like she never saw Peter and continued her way. "Hello, Miriam," Peter called with a smile. Miriam turned and acted surprised to see him. Peter exchanged greetings with Miriam. But when he asked to see her privately and discuss with her, Miriam told Peter that she was a very busy woman and wouldn't have such time. She asked Peter to tell her what he wanted to tell her. Peter summarized everything that happened between him and his ex-wife to Miriam. Miriam sympathized with him and told him that she believes that he would find someone better. Peter asked Miriam if they could get back together, and he apologized sincerely. Miriam smiled and shook her head from left to right. "Seems you didn't see this," Miriam said, and raised her hand, showing Peter her engagement ring. She would be getting married in a week's time. She dipped her hand into her handbag and brought out an invitation letter and handed it to Peter. Miriam's phone began to ring. It was her fiancé calling. She called him sweet names and started walking towards her car, leaving Peter behind. Peter watched Miriam enter into her Mercedes and drive off. Peter couldn't believe he missed an angel just for his quest to get married to a very beautiful girl he recently met. He sat down tired and filled with regrets. If only he knew. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe to get notified for more intruding stories.